When we started working, I was not able to sit up at the table at all and do any kind of reading or looking at anything. And I could do it if I was half lying on the bed with my head supported. And now, I think it's 5 or 6 months since we started working. I noticed it about 3 months ago that I was able to sit at the table and read a letter that I got without my neck going into the dystonia like immediately, just for 1 or 2 minutes. And now I can sit at the table in my studio and work for about, I think it's 40 minutes, and on a good day, like 1 hour. I can't do it every day, but I can do it about every other day or every third day. And sometimes I'll have to wait 4 or 5 days. But the fact that I can go for an hour without my eyes blurring and my neck seizing up, it's really been quite amazing. And so I'm an artist, and I haven't been able to do any work for all these years, but without severe symptoms. Like I've tried again and again to work, but always really severe symptoms and dystonia and tremor and the spasticity, and then vision problems with my eyes just becoming so blurred that I can't see at all. And now I can do about 1 hour without any symptoms. So feels like a really huge progress for me. I just want to point out that it doesn't feel so long for me because I've had these problems for 16 years since my car accident.
So if you should describe the progress, not in detail, but what has happened to you? What's going on?
I think my nervous system is getting calmer, and it's not in so extreme fight or flight or freeze. I have big problems with freeze, and so when I'm working with you, I'm after every session I start to notice like my nervous system has more capability to manage any kind of input, any sensory input, any cognitive input. And I guess I'm just assuming that when we are working through these body memories, each of them has kind of wound up and tightened my nervous system. And as we work on each one, especially the big ones, it's like unwinding a little bit. So there's a little bit more flexibility in my nervous system.
Has anyone, including yourself, ever believed that you could become better?
No, not really. 16 years is a long time. I've seen a lot of doctors, and I've never really had someone tell me that, yeah, this could go away. My movement disorders are pretty extreme. It's hard to tell right now because my body is really calm. But for the 16 years, they were very, very extreme. And with my whole body twisted and my neck, my chin over here and my hands and my feet like posturing really badly. And so most doctors didn't even know what to say or where to start because my system was so fragile that nobody could even try anything. At the minute they tried to do something, my body would react even harder, and the spasms would be like so severe that, it was really horrible. And now it seems like since I started working with you, like the nervous system is calming instead of getting more stimulated, because most of the normal therapies, vision and vestibular therapy and occupational therapy, they are like exposure therapies of doing more to kind of making more extreme situations so then your brain gets used to lesser ones. But for me, that backfired really badly. And what I really needed was for first to get more capacity to unwind the system a bit so that it didn't get so wound up that there was no way to do anything. And I have quite severe vision issues with like no convergence and no peripheral vision. And so for me to move in the world is very, very physiologically stressful because I don't have any proper proprioception or vision or what's the third balance thing? All three balance systems are affected. And there's nowhere for my brain to compensate. And now I feel like after working with you that I'm able to withstand a little bit more. So the improvement is like when I'm at home. Before, when I was at home, I was in full spasm 24 hours and full movements and really bad dysautonomia. But now I've improved where when I'm at home, I'm calm, like my body's calm, like 60 to 70% of the day, which is huge. I haven't started working on going out. Going out is still affects my system a lot. But for me to just be at home and have more capacity has been a huge improvement. But about 10 days ago, I had a really big thing happen where my visual field has been very constricted and no convergence, which makes it very hard for my brain to understand depth perception. And so like when I'm moving out in the world, my eyes could not adjust the focal distance, which happens automatically. And so it gets stuck like here and I have to look further down. And now my visual field has suddenly, the depth perception is working and I can focus out on the furthest point visible and my body relaxes, which is 16 years. I have not been able to do that. And it's such a dramatic difference that I'm actually like, it's a huge thing. I don't know how to explain it, how big it is. It's really like massive. And I've also managed to get it going to the back where I can imagine my depth perception going to the furthest point in the back. And so that's like a really big deal.
I think we were dealing with one of your car accidents the last time. So it sort of makes sense that you talked about seeing in the front window and seeing behind after your child. And so sort of make good sense. So what do you think about the future?
I started imagining the things I'd like to do in the future. And before, my brain would just, it would get panicky at the thought of doing anything because there was no capacity to believe that I could do anything except lay on the bed all day. And now when I even imagine or fantasize about doing something fun, like traveling or going out, my nervous system doesn't have a panic response. It actually enjoys it. And that's actually a really big deal that I can even imagine it without going into that panic state of, oh my gosh, I'll be in danger if I.
And actually you can sort of train when you can start dreaming about these things, it becomes easier and easier for your body to actually do these things.
Yeah. I once worked with a functional neurologist who was trying to get me to, because I can't track my eyes, just tracking my eyes left to right or up and down would trigger the myoclonus and the freeze like very severely, and I would just start jerking really hard. And my reaction was so severe that he told me that I couldn't even do it yet. I had to just lie there and imagine myself doing it. And I had to do that for about 6 months before I could actually do the physical exercise. And I still had a lot of problems, but I've noticed now since I started working with you that I'm tracking my eyes more easily. And my depth perception, like I can see further now. Before with my readers, I could only see like here, and now I can see as to my arm's length. And before I couldn't do that. If I tried to look at a point at my arm's length, I would get vertigo so severely that I had to like take the glasses off and go lie down, and you know. And so I feel like my eyes are really improving since we started working, and that's a really big deal for me because I have a lot of functional damage in my eyes after the first accident.
So my idea that a lot of diseases are caused by you people with disease being in fight, flight, and freeze, our instincts. How does that relate to you?
It completely like makes sense for me, because now after working with you, I'm starting to see when I'm in those states better, and then, you know, knowing what to do, because, you know, whatever we do in this session, after that, I remember, when I was in the session and I was in fight mode, this is what Lilian did. So I tried to do it myself. And we worked on that first accident, quite a few sessions ago. And then a few weeks ago, I got the body memory of an accident that I had forgotten about before my big accident. And it was when I first started driving when I was about 19 years old. And so I did the same technique you did on my own, and worked through some of the body memories from that. And I hadn't realized how much there was there, that it affected the 3 accidents that happened after.
Yeah. And that's my idea, that because people can't go to a therapist all their life, but they can slowly learn all these techniques and start using them. So that's why I use techniques that are fairly easy to learn yourself. Yeah. As soon as you sort of get the idea on what to do, then you can take over at least some of the situations.
Yeah, I think that one thing that it's taken me many years to learn is that I don't have the capacity to do the big ones on my own. And actually, when I try to release big body memories on my own, I re-traumatize myself because I don't have enough capacity to hold space for myself. And it's really important to work with you on those. And that I had to learn which ones it's okay, like the smaller ones to do on my own makes sense, but the big ones I kind of leave when they come up. I get a session with you because I don't want to.
Oh, that's a smart idea, yeah.
Yeah, because in the past I used to do it on my own, and it never went away, and I realized I'm just re-traumatizing myself all the time. And so it's really important to understand that till you have a lot of experience with working with someone first who can hold the space and hold the capacity, that's what teaches you how to really do it on your own.
And in the end, I'm a little curious. You came in to my group when Gary sort of start making a post about me. How what was your thought about the first few posts you saw? Was it that it's something new, or was it something you were looking after, or what? Can you remember that?
I'm trying to remember. Well, one of my biggest problems is freeze. And I'm not diagnosed with Parkinson's. I'm diagnosed with functional movement disorders. And all 3 balance systems not working. And the freeze issue is really a big deal for me, because when I go out, especially, and there's too much vestibular input, sudden movements and sudden sounds around me, my body goes into a hard freeze and my muscles really spasm, like the dystonia spasms hard, and I have to really fight against it to move to safety, right? And often I will get stuck where I am and I can't communicate and I can't move, and it's very distressing. And for me, when I've read about Parkinson's, I understand that you can have Parkinsonism, which is like Parkinson type um, characteristics in your condition, and then I saw, posts about you being able to help people with Parkinson's, and so for me it was like, well, if she can help them with Parkinson's, I wonder if she can help me with my freeze issues.
And when I say that this human idea about diagnosis, that it's not the case, it's more the symptoms, that nearly every symptoms are related to stress. So letting go of the idea of diagnosis and then instead concentrate about if the symptoms are stress related or not. If it flare up some days and are nearly absent other days, this variation is what we're looking after, not the diagnosis.
For me, the diagnosis issue was very different after brain injury, because I had to fight for a diagnosis for 13, 14 years before I started getting the diagnosis. And for me, I realized by that point, it didn't make a shit hell beans of difference whether I had a diagnosis or not. None of these doctors were able to help me to have even one day of feeling better. Like, they had no solutions for me, and it was their labels, and it didn't really matter what they thought I had or didn't have, because I was feeling just as bad. And I remember I went to a lot of neurologists, and there was one neurologist who turned to my husband at the time, and just because he was like, what does she have? Give us a name. And he just looked at him and he was like, look at her. Who cares what she has? No human being can live like this, And I think that was a good thing to hear, because it was like, it doesn't matter what my diagnosis is. What really matters is, can I sleep through the night? Can I wake up and walk across the room? Can I feed myself without choking? Can I go out in the world? And if I can't do those things, I need to find how I can do them. There is emotional stress, we all get it, but it's the physiological stress that I have to figure out how to lower, and that doctors are not working with, and that's what's causing these extreme symptoms with movement disorders and freeze and all this, the physiological stress in my day. So it doesn't matter how much, and that's where my body has learned physiologically to wind up really tight at any threat, whatever it is, physical, emotional, mental stress. And I have to learn to unwind that. And, that comes through working with the body and the body memories.
Yeah. So it's you being caught up in instinct stress that have given you all these body memories, and taking on that other perspective make it all possible.
Yeah, because when I was looking to doctors and therapists, for therapies to help and doctors to find the right thing for me to do, it just backfired. I just had worse and worse symptoms, because then there was the emotional expectation of getting better, but finding the horror of feeling worse because it was too much for my system. And here now it's like the wheel is turning the other way. My body's learning to get more experiences of being relaxed, comparatively more relaxed. So it's like each time I have that experience, even if it's only for a few minutes, it's like it's building that neuroplasticity of like, oh, we can also do this other thing. We don't have to do the getting tight. We can all go the other way.
And you can give me your opinion about that, because in my heart, I'm a biologist and a scientist, but recently I've got this idea that I'm not an alternative therapist. I'm actually the scientist I want to be, because I'm doing science. I think you call it on the frontier, that I'm testing out things, how it affects people with diagnosis when we consider it to be instinct stress or body memories. So I'm sort of reinventing myself as a scientist, not an alternative healer. What do you think about that idea?
Well, I actually have quite a bit to say. Number one is the definition of a scientist, because the modern definition of a scientist has removed the somatic aspect of the somatic element of illness, and it's separated out into physical, and then saying somatic goes with the psychological. So then that definition of a scientist, yeah, you look like you belong in alternative medicine, but the truth is a real scientist will admit that there is no separation between the somatic and the physical, and that you have to work with them both together.
Yeah.
Like, I still have to physically watch what I'm doing, but when I add in the somatic element, I have had 10 times more success when I do them both together.
Yeah.
And if doctors could understand that, they would really be able to help their patients. And unfortunately, in the coaching world and the alternative medicine world, those practitioners understand this and they're having success.
Yeah.
But in the allopathic medical world, they're not acknowledging this, and so they don't have success with their patients.
Yeah.
And what they do is, when they don't have success, they put the guilt and the blame onto the patient. Oh, it must be something psychological,
Yeah.
or you're not trying hard enough, or you're doing this or that.
But they aren't even tracking people that have a diagnosis to check in 3, 5, 10 years after to see if they have become better or worse, or so they're not keeping any statistics. They're 100% sure that they become worse. So when they hear a story about a person being better, there's they cannot hang that knowledge in any of their beliefs. So it's interesting. They could just look
Very
up
interesting,
and
because they conclude the what is it called, the outcome of a disease, the prognosis of a disease is concluded by using statistics, right? But so they watch the statistics that shows that you don't get better, or it evolves and it degenerates further. And they decide that that's the actual prognosis of the disease. So they promote that prognosis, but they don't ever change the way they treat or look at the disease. So that prognosis and that statistic is based on only one way of doing it, which is, if my medicine doesn't work for you, that means this is the only outcome. There can't be any other thing that could work.
Even the most severe cancer disease you can get a prognosis that there's 90% risk of you dying and 10% of you becoming back to good health again. But they are not having a similar thing with the the chronic diseases. You are only getting worse. It's not saying that 5% get back to normal, 30% do not have any progress or decrease, and what's left, 65% become worse and worse. They don't have this statistic.
I think it's because they won't take in the mindset issues. When I believe myself, like, when there are people who have cancers that aren't considered reversible and that the prognosis is death, there are some people who survive those cancers. And they make a big story about them, and it's always in the media and wow, but they never go deep enough to see what is the difference. And I really believe that it's mindset, because, and I'll give my own example. I didn't get diagnosed for 10 years. And then finally I got diagnosed by a brain rehabilitation doctor. And it was a hell 10 years that I went through with really extreme neurological symptoms. And then he tried to offer me some therapies as solutions, and that he was like, oh, we can help you with this and this, but nothing worked. And after a couple of years, he looked at me and he said, okay, I'm going to refer you to this brain injury organization and you will work with them from now on, because I don't have any more solutions to offer. And I didn't really understand what he meant. It took me a few years to understand. So this brain injury association, I'm very lucky. There's only 3 states in America that has this association, and they come to your house, the therapists, you don't have to go to them. And they have a waiver with the state and the insurance thing, so that you get special care. And after 2 or 3 years, I had speech therapy, like starting 3 times a week, then 2 times a week. And I've been having that speech therapy I'm in my 7th year now. And I have really learned a lot and changed a lot my cognition using that. But along the way, I came to realize that even this brain injury association that really understood how the brain gets affected after brain injury still believes that the patients that arrive with them are going to stay the same for the rest of their lives. And all their therapies are geared to just help them manage. But I refused to accept that. And I expected that when I invest in this speech therapy, I'm going to improve. And I'm the only patient they have who has improved in this last 7 years. Not just improved, but I am, like, 7 years ago, when I would call the office to pay my bill, that phone call would last over an hour and I would be crying. I had no cognition to have a conversation, and I would literally be crying and arguing, and I couldn't understand what the other person was saying. And now I still call that person, and the conversation lasts 3 minutes. I pay my bill. We have a sweet little social interaction for a minute or 2, and I get off the phone. That's how much improvement I've made in my cognitive ability to communicate. And my speech therapist, she tells me, she's not the same one, I've had 4 now. She tells me that she can't understand how I've improved. And I tell her it's because I refuse to accept that I wouldn't improve. And I really think that's made the difference, that I refuse to accept that I couldn't have something better.
It's not very difficult because the guys that accept that it's how it is, why should they do a lot of these things? You have continued looking in Facebook group, reading a lot, looking for new things to do, and as soon
looking
as
for the people who also offer that improvement. Without, the thing about you I like is that you don't tell me you're going to cure me all the time, but you keep showing me again and again that if this is the area I focus on, releasing the body memories through this and looking at what instinctual how do you say it, instinct state I'm in, nervous system state I'm in by instinct, I will see improvements, and I'm getting incremental improvements. There's no expectation of a miracle cure, because I think in medicine that's what it's like, so black and white. Either you have a miracle cure or then you're like that for the rest of your life. There's no like gray area where you can incrementally improve and teach your nervous system. You know, they talk so much about neuroplasticity and they don't understand it takes a while to build that neuroplasticity and teach your nervous system to do something different and not have the old reaction all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why I like working with you, because we're working incrementally, which allows me to keep building trust in my nervous system as well as in the work with you. And then I'm not getting that constant message that, oh, you can't have something different. You know, this is how it's going to be. Like, I don't get that. And I stopped going to doctors. I don't go to any doctors at all. I don't go to any neurologists, because they're either telling me it's in my head or they're telling me nothing better can happen. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not interested in either of those messages. I'm interested in like, how can I take advantage of the fact that my brain is neuroplastic and my nervous system is neuroplastic, and how can I keep slowing down so that I can actually incrementally improve?
Yeah. And I think it's even more simple than that, is that every time in your life you have experienced something bad, where your feelings was running high, or the accidents, you build in a body memory somewhere in your body. And that's what we do, take these body memories one after the other, and maybe you have 50, maybe you have 100, maybe you have more. It's not important. What we do is to deinstall 1 or 2 or 3 every time, and then see where that brings us, and you get results.
Yeah, a lot of those body memories are like when I was really unwell after accident and there was no proper care. Just, it was traumatic to keep trying to function through that. And that created a lot of body memories, and we have been undoing quite a few of those. So I think my limbic system is starting to calm down a little bit. And, you know, medical trauma is significant. Like when you're in fight or flight and somebody's trying to treat you, you're going to get traumatized, you know.
And so what we do is turning everything upside down and taking the small things we can do and just continue doing more and more.
My friend has really noticed a huge difference in my capacity too. Like, before we started, I could not even be in a room with another person for more than 20 minutes before my system just crashing. And 20 minutes was really on a good day. And I couldn't do it 2 days in a row. And now she can come over and I can handle like almost 2 hours. And she came over a few days ago and she's like, I cannot tell you the difference. Like, and before, if there was even somebody walking outside my house, my system would get completely dysregulated. It's 16 years, a long time. It's hard for me to remember how it felt to have a regulated nervous system that stayed calm and didn't, you know, physiologically stressed. So it's new for me.
So that's your last thing you want to tell people?
I think I made a really good decision starting to work with you. I can, some of the changes I've had, I didn't expect to have them for like a few years, and now they come much faster than I expect. And a lot of the changes, I didn't even know those things needed to change. But only when they changed, I was like, oh my God, this was missing. Like that thing of being able to see really far and converge my eyes at a distant point. I didn't even know till I started doing it 2 weeks ago that it was something I couldn't do.
I guess you can expect that progress is coming faster and faster, because now you have unwinding the some of the biggest body memories, or at least the ones that popped up here was pretty big, the accidents. And so now I would guess that you can expect a lot more improvement faster, because
yeah, looking back, I can see like the first 4 or 5 sessions felt very, they felt very hard. They were very intense. I wasn't used to accessing those body memories, and sometimes afterwards I would feel like, God, I don't know if I can do this again. This is too much, and that's why it would take me a long time to like come back. But now it's becoming easier, and I'm noticing that before the improvements didn't show so obviously, they were much more subtle. But now after 5 or 6 sessions, I can see that, oh, this is starting to build its own momentum in the right direction, you know.
yeah, and that was what I was aiming after that. It's not that we have had a lot of sessions.
No.
So
We actually haven't had that many. Yeah.
no, so we have had them in your speed, but you have tried therapy before, and that's actually makes things easier, because you believed in that it was possible, this progress, and that's why you have been looking for this many years after something that helped. So you have a firm belief in what to do.
Yeah. I didn't need to get convinced because I already understood. It took me many years to understand this. I mean, many years, and because before I was quite resistant myself. I was like, this can't be about my thoughts or my traumas. It's all physical from the accident, you know. And
Yeah.
it took me a long time to understand that it does make a difference if you work on this, both of them together. They're not separated from each other. And
so it's not that it's all in your head or all in your body. It's that
it's in your head and your body, and they both influence each other.
they influence each other. So when you have had a car crash, it's very physical, but it also go into your mental, whatever is going on here. And if some person is not nice to you, we call it mental, but it ties into you having physical symptoms. So we cannot only treat one of these. It's so much faster if we acknowledge this. But it's right now in the big world, the belief is that we have physical and mental, and we heal only one part, and it's very slowly, because it's not how the body works. We cannot operate out the anger from your shoulder, or we cannot operate out blame on or guilt. It's situated somewhere in your body, all these body memories. So it's tied together, all these things.
And you know, it's if you're somebody who hasn't connected with your feelings in your body, how they feel in your body, it can feel really scary to feel them for the first time. It feels very overwhelming and confusing. And so to work with someone like you who's staying very calm and taking care and being very gentle, it's really important, I think.
But that's
the
the whole idea. Sorry, that's the whole idea about the instincts and the freeze instinct, and especially that it cut off the connection between the head and the body, because it was too much. There was too much anger, too much blame, too much guilt, too much pain, or whatever. So that's part of the freeze instinct, that this connection is not working so well. So that's one of the parts that we start building, this connection between brain and body, and slowly we can free you from the instinct mode.
Yeah. And definitely, I'm really noticing when I'm coming out of the freeze. And you gave me great advice where you were like, you know, do it when your body really feels like doing it instead of overriding and pushing through all the time. And that's the biggest thing that I've been really like working on my own. And I've really noticed that my body has started relaxing and trusting me more because I'm not pushing through, and because I was creating a lot of symptoms, constantly overriding what I really needed in that
Yeah,
moment.
that's correct. It's fight you pushing yourself, doing more than, and yeah, it's your body sort of losing the trust that you help it. You are using a wipe, like what do you call beating a dead horse?
Yeah. And I was really beating a dead horse for 16 years. Oh my gosh. Like when I look back, I can see all the mistakes and all the things I thought I was doing right because of what society sort of encourages us to do. And I was just literally causing my own situation to get worse and worse because I was in, physiologically, I couldn't help myself. The accident put me in severe fight or flight, but no doctor explained to me. Like I think now, my gosh, if a doctor just sat me down and said, you know, your body is in fight or flight, it's going to want to go, 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 and you have to teach it to slow down. I could have turned my life around much sooner, probably.
Yeah, of course.
And now, you know, it's 16 years of that. There's a lot of stuff to be undone. And it's going to take some a little time.
Yeah.
And that's
But
okay.
but the process of becoming better and better, it's also good. So
Yeah, I'm actually like not looking for like being totally okay anymore. I'm just really starting to enjoy the little better and better each day because
yeah,
that's giving me a lot of joy and um oh wow, this is a much nicer mental space to be in. Is like, oh look, I noticed this happened. Oh look, I noticed that happened, and that's more meaningful than
yeah.
no, this is worse. Oh no, that's worse. You know, when is it going to stop?
Yeah. So I think you are in a good place, and
Yeah.
hoping and knowing that you will become better and better. So
Yeah.
I think we'll stop the recording here, and
Thank
hope
you.
that you looked all the way to here so you can get all these new good beliefs. That of course you can become better. There's always a corner somewhere where you can improve,
Yeah.
always. So with these words, let us stop the recording.